This is a Clouds weather alert.
Good late Tuesday, everybody. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center giving you the latest on the weather situation as we get out toward parts of Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, as we have active tornado warnings on the board right now. You can see here we have some tornado watches in that yellow area. That Goldus area there is the area where the greatest risk for significant tornado lies. That is EF2 or stronger type tornadoes. But currently two warnings on the board. We have one of them there as we get out toward parts of Mississippi for LaFleur and Sunflower counties. You can see here we have some of this action west of Greenwood, Mississippi. And you can see that rotation there as we get in a little bit tighter now. You can see that showing up on a rotation tracker as we get there towards some of these different communities. So I just got to be watching there toward LaFleur and Sunflower counties there in Mississippi, and then towards Louisiana. We have a tornado warning right now as we're getting close toward Winnsboro. So we're talking about Franklin, Madison, and Tensas. Franklin Parish there, Madison Parish, and Tensas Parish there in Louisiana. That warning going until about, it looks like 11 o'clock Central Time. A funnel cloud was reported with this storm here. And then this one up to the north, we're watching carefully as well with that rotation on the board. So we just got to be on guard. We've had a lot of accidents. It's been a very busy day. We've had that stream going on YouTube there for about 12 hours or so through the course of today. It was catching there some of that accident as we were getting out toward North Texas. I know tornadic accident around Fort Worth, that general vicinity there toward the Metroplex, the DFW Metroplex. That's a big deal. I mean, when people are at work, and some businesses being impacted out that way. So keep an eye on that. We had a tornado here in northern parts of Louisiana tonight toward Farmerville. Some pretty significant reports coming out of that area. Mobile homes being destroyed there and some injuries, at least some injuries coming out of that area there. So you hate hearing stuff like that as we get in toward northern Louisiana, toward the Arklamis. Unfortunately, I just hate seeing all this accident come together. We talked about it there last week. We gave you the heads up, and the thread is still ongoing. This is a very long event here, a long duration event. I couldn't, if I wanted to be even, I couldn't be on the air here for 48 hours straight. Just kind of breaking everything down for you, but we'll be watching things. Of course, when it gets toward our local area, we'll be covering all that for you, and we're going to give you an update here on how things are anticipated to play out as the accident gets closer toward our local area. So that's something to kind of just keep our eyes on here as you kind of stay tuned further along in this update. We'll just keep our eyes on the situation. But even toward Baton Rouge here overnight, Macomb, Mississippi as well, Jackson, Mississippi. Gotta be paying attention for maybe an isolated strong tornado. Those are the most dangerous, the most deadly nocturnal strong tornadoes. You definitely don't want to see them, and that is a possibility. Already had one, it seems, up toward areas there around Farmerville in northern Louisiana. Had some pretty bad accident there around Shreveport as well earlier on there in northwestern Louisiana. So I just hate seeing all that accident there, even toward the Arklatex. And as you kind of see here, you see some thunderstorm activity toward Houston, but not severe at the moment, so that's good. But currently, two tornado warnings on the board that we're watching very carefully here. And just as we look at the state of Mississippi, though, it's something that we have to talk about. It's very important to talk about the passing there. Mississippi State head football coach Mike Leach. I'll go ahead and zoom in toward the Starkville area now to Oktibbeha County. Now there is some type of threat you see in terms of tornado watches out toward the west. Now the bigger threats toward the south, but still got to remain on guard here toward Oktibbeha County. But just a terrible loss there. The head football coach Mike Lee's passing away last night there in Jackson, Mississippi, 61 years old, and just it's a terrible thing there. It's very rare to have a head football coach there on the college level or any level, of course, die there before the season's complete. They still had a bowl game, and there still is a bowl game that the team's looking forward to, but it takes on a much different tone now with what happened there. As they play down in Tampa against Illinois next month. But just a terrible loss there. Thoughts and prayers to everybody involved, his family, his friends, players there on the team, fellow coaches. I mean, just a very unusual situation. I mean, I have to go back to the 1980s when we had the last current SEC head coach to pass away there. Why they were in charge of the team. So just a crazy set of circumstances there. Thoughts and prayers to everybody involved. But got to pay attention to the weather here in this area as well. You see here just different things coming out of funnel cloud being reported there as we get out toward parts of Louisiana. You can see here a funnel cloud view there east of US 425. This is something that was noted there about 10:10 Central Time. So going to be watching that accident in eastern and northeastern Louisiana toward the Arklamas and then toward areas there in that Greenville, Television Market, per se, that general vicinity. Anyway, I know some of this may be Jackson here as well, but as we get up here, you can kind of see here around Indianola there. I know I'm trying to pronounce that. It's always tough pronouncing these cities on the fly. I know, just trying our best here as we're looking out here. Again, a possible tornado is looking not quite as impressive at the moment, but it could still re-strengthen there toward LaFleur and Sunflower counties in Mississippi. So we'll just continue to watch the situation very carefully here as we watch things out toward Texas. You still see a little bit of that threat there. I mean, even the overall tornado risk there is something to show because that encompasses more areas out, all the way out. I mean, as you get closer towards Starkville, they're under that 2% there. I know the students aren't on campus, but still toward that area there, toward Columbus, Mississippi. And we had that severe weather there a couple weeks ago we were tracking. The threat is a little lower maybe this time for these areas further north, but it's not zero. We saw the areas that were in the target zone with the last event a couple weeks ago, maybe weren't the hardest hit in some cases. We saw a deadly tornado out toward areas that are on Montgomery. So got to remain on guard. Got to remain alert. Things can change very quickly here in this situation. Mobile homes are not the places to be in this type of scenario either. It'd be best if you had a friend that had a site-built structure there, a house-type structure. It'd be more than likely a safer scenario for you than being in a mobile home overnight with a tornado threat impending. It's always dangerous. We see it time and time again here. What happens when a tornado hits a mobile home park at night, and it's not a good thing generally. But again, just continue to watch things here. You see toward our local area. Let's take a look at some of these current temperatures. You can see right now 50s and 60s on the board. I know that's going to be a big story next week, folks. It looks like some very cold air is going to be trying to move across the nation here based on some of the preliminary model guidance. It could always change the situation. Could let some things switch with this. We were necessarily going to have more action on Monday. That didn't come to fruition here, but I mean, next week right now, it looks like some really cold air is coming in. I mean, I have 60s and 40s on our forecast here. As we're looking ahead, I even have maybe 37 there, even next Monday. But that is just the beginning there. It's the tip of the iceberg, really, because we could be seeing temperatures closer to Christmas that are in that freezing range there, overnight lows. So, and we don't want to get too specific because things can still shift around. But some of our early guidance is suggesting maybe some freezing temperatures as we get toward Christmas morning here locally. We'll just have to wait and see for more details. We just got a new tornado warning. You see me look over here, that beep. It's a new tornado warning right now. Let's see. Bolivar, Sunflower, and Washington counties there in Mississippi until it looks like 11:30 Central. So that's over an hour. That's a long fuse tornado warning here. I know we have a couple of different areas we're looking at. Let's first off go over to our analyst computer and show you what we're dealing with here toward areas there in Louisiana. You see there, this area, you see Franklin Parish there. You also see Madison and Tensas Parish. And you see this rotation here right there, and you maybe see something trying to set up into form of maybe debris, hopefully not, but did have a funnel cloud with this earlier on. It was a lot tighter a few moments ago, though, there in Franklin Parish. That's some really tight rotation. I know we're looking higher up because of some radar issues, but, well, when I say radar issues, we're having, it's just an overall situation. I mean, I can go to the ULM radar, actually, but we're on the main type of radar. We're at 7,000 feet or so. And this one winds about 100 miles an hour, give or take. Now, the ULM radar may give us a good view based on what I was seeing in the chat here. And we're seeing, not really a great view, but we're watching some of this here for you. I might see if I can load in some of the earlier frames because this view generally has been obstructed here for us. So I haven't really been watching this radar too much, but it's a close-range radar here that can try to get us a better shot of what's going on. You can see some of that rotation there as we get out toward the west, but it's tough. It's tough overall as we're watching things. So let's go up to the north though and go to that Jackson radar if we can. I know it's going to take me to the other one because that's the one that's closest to some of this accent, but let's get to the north here and we'll go ahead and put some different characteristics on. I know they're saying the rotation north of Greenville has tightened up now. So let's go ahead and get over here. We'll put it on the right mode for you. North of Greenville, Mississippi. I know this is an area here kind of getting in tough radar spots depending on exactly how you're looking at things. But you see the word Scott there, the community of Scott. We have some rotation there. Let's see if that's what they're telling us here in the chat. This is over Lamont. It looks like our 11 miles north of Greenville, moving northeast at 50 miles an hour, and it's showing. It looks like a QLCS, a mesovortex look, so that can produce a quick spin up. We're going to have to watch for some of that in our area here as we get with the squall line early Thursday. This is something to really keep our eyes on here. Discrete cells might have some of that early on, but the parameters may not be enough really to get too much of that accent going in our area. Toward the west could be a different story, but in our area, maybe more about these little embedded rotations that can produce tornadoes with little or no advance warning. You got to be ready to take sector. I'm pretty concerned. We have that local red still, of course, for the national threat, for our local area as well. So we got to just really be paying attention here. I mean, when I'm concerned about this threat, it's because, I mean, we have that wording of some strong tornadoes, especially just outside of our area here, as we just got the continuation of the tornado warning there for the rotation near Sunflower, Mississippi, moving northeast at 30. LaFleur and Sunflower counties. But here's that threat here for day 2. Gonna be day 1 here pretty simple. You see that hatched area there. New Orleans is in this, toward Baton Rouge, toward Hattiesburg. This is after 7 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Central tomorrow. We're talking there. The hatched area, we're concerned for the threat of some stronger tornadoes. The F2 plus type tornadoes here. We're talking about areas there. If they look at the map, of course, Mobile's on here, but then we have Rudin, Alabama is in there as well. Pensacola, Florida. So we really got to be paying attention here. That day 2 outlook is concerning. Some of that threat lingering late into the night, and you see the lower probabilities there toward Dothan and toward Tallahassee, but those are still enough maybe to prompt tornado watches to be issued here. Pretty good chance of that toward Bainbridge and Thomasville and off toward Tallahassee there, it looks like, as we get there late Wednesday, early Thursday. So make sure you have multiple ways to get alerts. You know, if we end up getting strong tornadoes tomorrow in some of these areas, I might be on, might kind of get caught up in things, and at times it's streaming radar or whatever we do here. So it may not be something we are pushing over and over. We don't have a show set up for you, but just know you got to have multiple ways to get alerts overnight here toward Tallahassee, toward Crawfordville, toward areas there in the Florida Big Bend, toward Apalachicola, and threaded even a little bit higher outside of our area, it seems. Panama City, I mean, anywhere in between. I'm not going to name everybody, but you kind of get the idea. And we need to break away from this. We're now getting word, since we're live here. I know we can't cover all of them, but we're getting word there's a tornado on the ground now in Madison Parish. So Louisiana is where we're talking. There's now a debris signature, we're being told here. So they're about to upgrade the warning. The office there in Jackson. Meteorologist Daniel Lamton is out here in the chat session. So, oh, that's really tightened up. That's really tightened up. There's the debris that actually there is right there in southwestern parts of Madison Parish. A tornado on the ground here. Let's make sure we have this in the best mode. This will turn purple in a moment. But this tornado here looks like a pretty rural area, and they're telling us out here in the chat, it's just east of Louisiana Highway 610, and it'll be moving in toward the Tensas River Wildlife Refuge area. So that's good. At least we're not talking about a highly densely populated area, a very densely populated area. Not talking about that right now. You see the path there. It looks pretty rural for a while, but eventually we got to watch there. You can see some more populated zones. Even the interstate here, Interstate 20 could be in the path of this as we get there within the next half hour. So that's something to watch there. You see this path. Make sure we have it up to date here with the latest information. Sometimes it's updates. It did update. So you see that path here. You can see some of these different communities that could be impacted here, and eventually toward the Mississippi River and into Mississippi. So we just have to be paying attention here. Just have to be paying attention here in the Weather Center with this type of situation here. Gotta be on guard when you have a tornado on the ground. Again, when you see the debris, I show it to you sometimes on just the streams. This blue right here is co-located perfectly with this bright green, this brighter red. That's indicative here of winds 48 one way and then about 38 the other way. So we could be talking about winds there about 90 miles an hour down toward the surface. Maybe an EF1 type tornado, give or take. We're not at the lowest tilt here. Because, I mean, we are, but we're not at the best spot here on the radar because we're at that distance, so we can't get really low. But just getting an update here on these warnings. They canceled out Franklin and Tensas Parishes now, but Madison Parish, you see the tornado debris. We see that debris. You see that blue here. You see that blue. That's up there at about 6,000 feet. Now, you don't see it as we get higher up yet, thankfully, but that's the new tilt. And that's really looking nasty there. I mean, that's nasty. This could be something there in that EF1 to EF2 type range. I mean, it's hard to say because we're not at the best height here. But, again, we're watching this carefully. I'll go to the ULM radar. I'm not sure what we're going to get, but, oh, we're really getting it on there now. Okay. And that's not what you want to see of it. So we have debris on here, possibly. Yeah, that looks like debris. So we're actually getting this on the college's radar here at the university there, Louisiana Monroe. I know, just watching things from there. That's a meteorology school. Also, some of you may know that head football coach there, as we get off topic here, really quickly, Terry Bowden, of course, but the son of Bobby Bowden, one of his sons. But that's where we're getting this radar from there. But you can see here, we're now getting more concerned with this threat. I know it's a rural area, that's where we're kind of go off topic a little bit, but they're now telling us the debris is extending above 10,000 feet, so they're upgrading this to a considerable tornado warning there for Madison Parish. So this is now a particularly dangerous situation that are about to be called down here because of the increase in an escalating threat. So it's a very rural area, it looks like right now, but that could change as this gets closer to the interstate. And I-20 here in parts of Louisiana as we get towards some of these different communities. So this is now a PDS situation. And again, I know the radar's not showing you much because we're on that terminal view, but that is some really good wind views here that we're getting from this. This is large and extremely dangerous tornado located near the community of Bakers, or 16 miles northeast of Winnsboro. And that wind there, I mean, that's showing 69 one way and 45 the other way. Maybe, I mean, you can almost make the argument that that pink pixel backed this up a little. I mean, that could be accurate. And if that's the case, we're talking about 71 way and 65 the other way now. So that could be winds closer to that EF2 type range, maybe even closer to an EF3 type range. They're calling it PDS, so it's probably an EF2 type situation right now. So we're really getting higher up on an enhanced Vegeta scale. Now, we didn't have it set aside in the show, but let me go ahead and punch this up real quick, our enhanced Vegeta scale. I know it's something that's really kind of more important for the meteorologist to understand and the viewer, because this is something that'll be evaluated later on. We can't estimate it directly from radar, but you can use, there's different studies out there about debris signatures, the height, the levels of rotation. You can kind of get an idea of what could be going on in here. So we'll try to do that for you. Maybe any of two, though, considerable damage possible here. Could be even a little bit worse than that. It's a rural area now, but that could take a turn here if we're not careful. So we got to be paying attention. Got to be paying attention. I know that's an odd view overall, but we're really low to the ground because we're on that ULM radar out of Monroe, Louisiana. And it's helping us out right now. You see that debris there, and you see the blue, that's 70-mile-an-hour winds, 65-mile-an-hour winds. It could be about 135-mile-an-hour wind there reaching the surface. And then let's see if there's any information about times of arrival in this warning. So it looks like right now locations impacted include the community of Afton. So it's a pretty rural area. We're going to see what else is going on. We just got some more information on some other warnings. There's a tornado warning in Allen Parish. This is way to the south here. Way to the south. This is Lake Charles office here. I know this is a tornado warning for northeastern Allen Parish now until about 11 o'clock. This stuff just keeps going. I know for a little while we really had these going here right before we got on. We had to get stuff ready, so we couldn't really come on unless we had a tornado emergency, something really bad headed toward the town. But I mean, in terms of just a PDS type warning scenario toward a major city. But You can see here, I mean, things can still be bad no matter what. I mean, got to pay attention to WS Tornado on Twitter. It gives you the latest information on the warnings or not here on the air, on the air even. When we're streaming, you can get more details on the population breakdown. It's really helpful. I use it sometimes here behind the scenes. It says how many schools are within a warning, stuff like that. And it just shows you the cities there, the full breakdown of time that is set to expire. But this is a tornado warning right now here for Allen Paris until about 11 o'clock. We just had this issued. See if there's any debris in here. It's hard to tell. It looks more like inflow to me right now. But yeah, that's a hook though, a nasty one there. As Roy popped up, this is in areas there southwest of Alexandria and off toward the northeast of Lake Charles for perspective. So we have 4 tornado warnings. That one, our PDS one, and then we have the 2 in Mississippi. I know you see a gust there in the 40s toward Greenwood, Mississippi. I know we have Greenville and Greenwood there towards some of these different spots. But again, watching things carefully up here. I think we're going to go back to our cycle that we had set aside, though, for now, our forecast cycle, because we had a lot in here we needed to cover. So I know people might want to go to bed here locally, and I don't want to keep you waiting unless we have just something that's just up to maybe a catastrophic tag. Let's go ahead and try to finish this, and then we'll get back toward the national type of situation. So back to our day 2 outlook here. You can see what we're talking about with this. I know looking at things that Hatch area we're concerned, we're still watching toward our area as well. And then you see toward day 3 now. This is something that could impact areas toward Stark, toward Gainesville here. They're pointing these communities out. Toward Jacksonville, toward Brunswick, Waycross here. I mean, Inverness, outside of area, Tampa there, Orlando even. We could have some tornadic weather, and if not tornadic weather, the squall line could be producing, at that point, more just damage and destructive winds. So I have to charter those devices here even. Might not be a bad idea as we're getting in toward that time frame where the sun, or at least the lights out, the daytime hours, what I'm trying to say. The sun might not be out because of the situation we're talking about. But again, really concerned about those in the Hatched and near the Hatched area for your Wednesday and into early Thursday. But then as we look over here one last time for now, you can get these updated near cloudsweather.com/severe when we're not on these update here regional looks. But again, slight risk. Day 3, we don't get that very much. We even had this out of day 4, so be prepared here. We gotta be on guard. Maybe more damaging winds at this point as we get further off toward the east. That pattern will probably promote that a little bit more, but we just have to be kind of paying attention. And then as we get over here now toward this tornado safety tips, these apply both for our national level viewers and our local level viewers. So here's what we're talking about here, folks. You see what tornado watch that means there. That means conditions are favorable for tornadic activity in and close to the watch area. So that means charter the devices in case of power loss. It's conceivable we could be under a tornado watch there Thursday morning toward Stark, toward Jacksonville, toward Gainesville. And I mean, already having that threat move through by the time that morning commute rolls around Tallahassee. But just have multiple ways to receive alerts, and then when a tornado warning is detected, it's because of that axial detection using the radar or even spotted. You want to seek shelter inside a sturdy building, get as many walls between you and the outside as possible here, and protect yourself from flying debris by putting on a bicycle helmet or a football helmet. And even have those shoes ready when a tornado warning is in play. We have those right now. So national level viewers, I know that's something you guys need to be doing out there. 1035, confirmed large and extremely dangerous tornado was located near Tensas River National Wildlife Refuge, and I'm going to try to pronounce this because it's direction it's headed, or 16 miles southwest of Talia there, moving northeast at 40 miles an hour. So considerable damage to it. We saw the debris live as we were showing that to you. You can see that on the UM radar. They're out of the Monroe area. That's Ouachita Parish we're looking out of there. But then their threat, they're not seeing that right now there. But another tornado warning in Bolivar, as well as Sunflower and Washington counties in Mississippi. At 10:38, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located. It looks like 7 miles northwest of the community of Shaw, moving northeast at 50 miles an hour. So pretty fast movers into their south, but it's a slow-moving system here. So it's tricky. You got to pay attention, folks. You got to pay attention, as these storms can really catch you off guard if you're not, because of this, the way we're watching the storm modes, and that's how they're getting going. But under the times now that with the Madison Paris storm, the one we have the PDS warning on right now that we're talking about, the debris is becoming more diffuse and the rotations becoming weaker on the latest scans. They may back down from the confirmed considerable warning wording shortly, but they're going to maintain that tornado warning there. And then as we look ahead now locally here, our North Florida zones, when is this accident going to arrive? I'm going to try to answer that question for you. The worst of the accident, the main squall line. We could have some accident out ahead that we could have to watch. We'll be here getting it covered for you. Every single tornado warning here in our county will be on for, and I'll reiterate our counties here in just a moment, but you can see for Thursday's worst, probably just mainly talking about the squall line, somewhere between 2 and 8 a.m. Thursday, that's going to move through Tallahassee. So right now, I'm thinking 5 a.m. probably. I'm kind of splitting the difference here to be on the safe side, but 2 to 8 a.m. is how we're kind of saying that here as it moves through maybe Leon County and then towards Suwannee County there between 5 and 11 a.m. So right now I'm saying maybe 8 a.m. But again, you got a budget here with this. We're looking over a day out. Things change as you've seen with the tropics. And then Stark here, Bradford County, where we're broadcasting from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. So maybe 10 a.m. is what we're expecting here. The worst of this. That's when we're expecting some of the worst of this. Isolated storms could still be severe ahead, especially toward the Big Bend there and some of the southwest Georgia counties with the setup. But with the squall line itself, this is what I'm thinking right now, looking at the latest model guidance, kind of putting everything together, looking at some other information as well there from the Weather Service. They have some time set out aside as well, and these are pretty close. The range is a little bit broader here in some ways. Just looking at some of the latest because it changes. I mean, the model guidance is going to update, but this is pretty similar to what they have there at the various offices. Just erring a little more on the side of caution because we're doing this, and probably won't necessarily update this graphic again unless we get a chance here in some of our covers tomorrow if we're having to be on, depending on how things play out. It's kind of variable here at this point, or if we just do radar streams or if we have to be on. Kind of a bad feeling that we could have to be on because of some of those higher STP, significant tornado parameter values that I'm seeing in some of our model guidance. Compared to today, they're actually lower than what we could see tomorrow toward areas there as we were still in that hash zone. But right now we're at 61 degrees here east of Stark, but those temperatures here are too warm for this time of year. But thankfully, in some ways, cool air is going to come in to kind of lower severe chances eventually here, as they're telling us new tornado warning coming for the Madison Paris storm as it goes across the Mississippi River there. But going back to our counties now, our 62 counties, as you see here, you see Quitman County, we're covering you guys up there. And then we also cover all the way down. I mean, that's how far we cover from there, all the way down through Flagler County in Florida. Been on last 3 years, every tornado warning storm to move through these counties. I know, of course, it's a little different. We have to play things by ear with national level threats, but for our local viewers, we've been on whatever source we've been streaming through, whether it's Twitter at one point for Tallahassee areas, Facebook for Jacksonville, and now more the broad multiple streaming sources. Now YouTube, of course, we're on at Clouds Weather there. You can search for that, subscribe there as another option to watch things, and sometimes for exclusive streams, especially for our national level of threats. But we've been on for every tornado warning storm to move through these 62 counties last 3 years. Very important for me to do that. And then as we get here now, the next 7 days, in terms of that rainfall forecast, you can see here that rain. I mean, some of this is from just now even, but toward Baton Rouge, toward southern Mississippi, they're getting that rain. And you're seeing some of this rain, a good thing, toward Tallahassee. We're in drought conditions out there toward some of those western zones, and we need that rain. We don't need severe weather, but we need that rain. We could also use some core temperatures to get rid of some of that fog potential that's still kind of lingering tonight. Some areas here, it looks like not as nasty as it's been in some situations, but still some patchy fog, a problem here. I know, looking at some of the information towards Stark here, that could be an issue overnight. And then as you just kind of see here, though, toward Tallahassee, talking about an inch or two of rain, give or take here, depending on exactly where things set up. And then towards Stark, we're talking maybe a little bit less there, maybe on that scale. I mean, honestly, you could look at this because of the multiple systems here and say some areas out toward that Apalachicola area could get closer toward 3 inches of rain. So that's something to kind of be mindful of. And it can always be tricky here where the heaviest rain falls and we have the multiple systems. And so modeling's been not great for exactly what could happen toward the weekend. Not severe weather necessarily, but just cool rain. It looks like at this point toward the weekend, at least in some time frame there. But cloudweather.com/radar. I know we hope that rain doesn't impact the Jaguars taking on the Cowboys, but it's not 100% one way or the other right now in terms of that. Hopefully, maybe it just moves through during the overnight and kind of gets out of here before that game there at TIAA Bank Field. But now let's go ahead and see that extended forecast that next 7 days. You can see here 40% chance of rain on Wednesday, 90% chance on Thursday here. So just remain alert here. 40s rapidly changing weather conditions. We're talking about mainly earlier Thursday. I mean, to be out of our eastern zones by 4 o'clock or so. Talking about Flagler County there on that Thursday. And then we're looking at cool air coming for Friday, but more rain, cool rain at this point. It looks like for later Saturday into Sunday. You see 55 for the high on Sunday. Some of that cloud cover. I know we've had that cloud cover really kind of mess with some of our forecast numbers here lately. It's kind of crazy because our model in here is insisting on those higher temperatures here in the past days and ended up having all that cloud cover on it. Saturday kind of stood out to me here a little bit in the weather center. I know we ended up only getting up there on Saturday there at 71, and that sounds pretty warm, but that was at 11 something. So we actually had temperature dropping as we got later on in the period after that, and then we only got there to 62 on Sunday for the highs. So it kind of tells the story, but we were expecting temperatures in the upper 70s Saturday. That just didn't materialize here. We had that cloud coming. We had a really interesting delineation on the visible satellite. But another thing I want to mention here, talking about the high school football that was being played over the weekend. I want to congratulate everybody watching there. That's either on the team or a fan of the Hawthorne Hornets there. They won the state title in Tallahassee over the weekend, and also in their classification, and then also, of course, Ware County in their classification, which is 5A there, up in South Georgia. They won the state title there against Warner Robins. That's a pretty impressive feat. I know the first time Ware County, the Gators have won the state title up there in Waycross. A big deal for them, big deal for Alachua County with Hawthorne winning as well there. Cornelius Ingram squad getting the job done there in Alachua County. But let's go ahead now, as they were playing in Tallahassee, but for the team there and for the county of Alachua. But let's go ahead and get back to the storms that we're dealing with. You can see we got a more longer list, I guess I should say, of tornado warnings now. We've had a pretty good jump up in some of these warnings. Some of these aren't necessarily in the area that have the chat open for, so we're not hearing the beeps for them at the moment. But let's go over to other mode and see what's going on here. So we'll go away from analyst, and we have the tornado warning down here. So this is a hook we're looking at there. Tornado warning radar indicated toward Allen Paris here until 11 o'clock Central Time. Then as we get up toward the north here, you can see toward areas here in northeastern parts of Louisiana, we have a radar indicated tornado warning now. Not confirmed anymore, thankfully. We still got to watch for those changes, of course, as we're looking toward East Carroll Parish as well as Madison Parish, Warren County in Mississippi, and Issaquah County there in Mississippi as well to 11:45 Central Time. We're going to be watching that accent get closer toward Talia there. If I'm pronouncing that right, if I'm not, I apologize. Northwest of Vicksburg as we're talking. And we have some of that rotation still apparent on a rotation tracker, but it was tighter a little while ago. The radar cover didn't great, so it's not showing that as good out here. So let me still check our other mode here. I don't want to kind of lead you guys in the wrong direction. But, that's still looking pretty tight, actually, on our other mode. Our rotation tracker just didn't pick up on it good because of the distance on the radar. But let's go to the UOM. Let's go to the UOM radar real quick. We'll kind of see what's happening there and see the situation. You can see this rotation here showing right now. Wind's about 36 one way and about 9 the other way. But then let's go off the Jackson radar now. Let's go off the Jackson radar, and you'll be able to see what we're dealing with here. Let me make sure we have the right motion on this as well. That's showing a lot nastier at times. I mean, the latest scan there, it keeps updating because we have to switch radars on this analyst mode, and and that kind of causes some different things to occur in our system. But to get the latest information in, but 30 miles an hour toward the radar, and then 30 away. That's 76 miles an hour rotation, and this may cross the interstate just west now of the community of Talia there, if I'm pronouncing that right. Again, we're watching things there, eventually crossing over the Mississippi River, and you hear more updates coming. You see some tornado warnings here up in Mississippi as well towards Sunflower County, also parts of Washington and Bolivar counties there in Mississippi. We're watching some of that action there, radar indicated tornado warning, and then as we get up toward areas there of Sunflower and LaFleur, some more radar indications up toward it looks like the Memphis office jurisdiction now, tornado warning being issued here just recently, last 10 minutes or so at least here. We'll try to go over some of these different areas. It looks like the red state's in there, Charleston, Mississippi. It could be headed in a direction here, or at least the areas under the warning include, but are not limited to Batesville there, Water Valley, Charleston, the George Payne State Park, the John W. Kyle State Park, Lambert. So pretty highly populated we're talking about in here with this. Let's see, I'm going to double check, make sure I'm on the best radar for this because it gets tricky in here, and actually Memphis would be the best view now. You see Oxford, Ole Miss there. We'll have to watch them toward areas further downstream later on with this, but you can kind of see we have that rotation zone up right near the interstate up here with this cell as we get the latest scans to update for us, and you see it maybe just passing by the interstate at this point. It's not the tightest thing in the world when we see the rotations. It's not discrete, and it's the green and red and a broad fast, and maybe a couple different areas, if not a few different areas of rotation, to be quite honest, being noted here. But the one they're tracking right now is near Charleston, so that's kind of interesting. They must be tracking, I mean, it's from a few minutes ago. They issued this, it's probably the area that north here. But you could honestly make a case that any of these here could produce spin-offs with little or no advance warning. So I know you saw a lot of blue in there. That wasn't debris, but I know they're telling us here toward the south, the strongest rotation there, toward Madison Parish there. We're talking about that is getting close there to crossing Interstate 20 near Quebec there, west of Talia. So we're kind of just showing that to you here. You're looking at off the terminal radar there, or the campus radar there, in this case the UIM. But again, we now have 7 tornado warnings on the board, so the numbers keep fluctuating on us. When we came on, had just a handful of tornado warnings, but now getting to be a pretty significant amount again. So it's very important to have multiple ways to receive alerts. And then we have that tornado watch toward the south here, including Lake Charles and that region there, going to 4 a.m. Central, according to the SPC there, Storm Prediction Center in Norman, and then 2 a.m. as we get east, though. I mean, these times can be tricky at points here. That's what it's showing, at least on the system, 2 a.m. But again, that can always change. It just things can shift around. As we now have 7 tornado warnings that we're tracking. One of them is this area, just heading in the direction of Alexandria there. So let's get down there. We're talking about Rapides Parish. Tornado warning for you guys now. So let's go ahead and go up here and see what our radar is giving us here in our other view. It's going to load on in. You see they're probably gone first, and then you see here rotation. It'll kind of update on us here at the latest details as they are kind of coming into the system. You can see here as they get this straight storm motion on this. This is headed right there toward Alexandria, it looks like. I mean, it could be off just a little, but so hopefully it falls apart. These storms have had a tendency to kind of really ramp up and then really fall apart. That's really nasty, dangerous, because, I mean, stuff can really hit you off guard. I mean, and catch you off guard. I mean, you could have a storm that's not looking like much, and then 15 minutes later, it could be just producing an EF2 type tornado. But this right there at the moment is crossing a State Road 10 there, Louisiana 10. And then this is going to be crossing, it looks like Louisiana 113 the next little bit. As this moves on up, you can kind of see the path. I mean, that's 15 minutes, 30. So approaching Alexandria in 45 minutes, and they're within the hour. So got to be watching there in Rapides Parish. You have a tornado warning now just to the south if you're in Alexandria, and parts of Rapides Parish actually under this tornado warning now. So we got a pretty busy picture now. 6 tornado warnings, so that's 1. We did have another one with it a moment ago. That dropped off, and we have the 2 here. I know the radar is going to kind of not be great, so let's take it off as we get further up as I'm switching between. But you see the one that's pretty big up there towards some of these different counties like Tallahatchie County, kind of an interesting name, and then Padola County there. You see as we're watching, and you see Quitman County there in Mississippi as well. But again, just watching things here, watching some more other polygons on the screen at the present time. Let's see, I know, and again, we're just going to be talking about that colder air, though, coming in. Not after this as much. I mean, it's going to be cool, as we showed you, but next week, again, toward Christmas, our local weather could be something that's really interesting in terms of colder air coming in. Now, you might be wondering, as I go ahead and go back on over real quick to our other local view, as we want to go ahead and talk about just what we're seeing right now in our local view and what's expected in the future. I mean, to be honest, as we look ahead in that timeline, it's kind of just intriguing because if we had precipitation in the mix, right now, models have kind of backed away and new ones coming in now. So if you're looking at them as you're watching me and they're showing something different, then that's kind of going to be, this have to be the case. But the latest runs, they were kind of backing away from precipitation mixing because if we actually had cold air and precipitation in the mix, at the same time, talking about freezing air, then we could really have an interesting scenario on our hands because that could lead to some sleet or ice or snow. Maybe you could have a white Christmas in spots, but right now the probabilities of that are really low. I mean, they're always low. I guess you could say just hinting up a little bit higher this year. Now, other parts of the country could really have a white Christmas here, as we're going to have cold air across many areas, but locally the odds are still really low, but they're not zero here at this point. Sometimes at this point you could already look at the models and say it's going to be warm. There's no white Christmas, and at least I can't say that here for our local area. I probably won't have them, but you can always have hope. So let's go ahead and go back up toward the north and west here. Though we got all these tornado warnings, I'm kind of sticking with this quite a bit longer than we normally do because I hate to go off when we have tornado situation like this here on play when we're getting these warnings coming in. It's important to inform the viewer of what's going on here as we have our logo red. Of course, we have that area here where we could have strong tornadoes. I mean, this type could last all night long here. In theory, hopefully it kind of wanes again. But you see areas there toward Baton Rouge and Jackson even under this 10% risk, and the strong tornado risk, pretty much the same zones. Again, we're going to be watching these very carefully here. Let me go ahead and zoom out. Looks like they're telling us now that a tornado may be touching down as the storm crossed I-20. It's this one right here. Bernadette is on. May have had a tornado touch down. Okay, large tornado now, according to Bernadette. Large tornado on the ground here as it crosses Interstate 20. We were watching this situation very carefully. I hate seeing that. We now have a large tornado. It ramped back up, folks, and it's unfortunate that it did so. We were hoping this was going to kind of stay a little bit tamer, but that quickly now it's ramped back up on us. We have a large tornado on the ground, according to a very experienced storm spotter, Bernadette, telling us that sometimes we're not 100% sure, but this is a really, really reliable storm spotter. So we probably have a large tornado on the ground here around areas in Madison, Paris at the moment. Again, maybe a large tornado on the ground. I know the radars here at times kind of interesting as we switch, and you can see the greens and reds. It's an odd view, but oh yeah, you can see how just in the last frame just now, they're going to add confirmed wording to the statement. It's out with a tornado warning and ramping up again, obviously, as we see 49 one way there, 76 the other way. That was a moment ago. They're having to ramp up the wording now. I know a moment ago here, they were ramping down the wording, but now you hear that new beep. That's the confirmed wording that's within this. Just check for the debris, and I mean, it still kind of shows it as if it's never really out of there, but it's hard to say. We're looking at an unusual radar view there up to terminal at UOM, but again, let's get back in here. We're trying to give you the latest to protect you, your friends, and your family. Whenever you have tornado warnings, it's important to get in the interior room away from windows. And you don't see the debris as much on Jackson, but it could just be an issue with the debris not getting as high there initially. I mean, there may be a little something there, but because we're having to look higher up on Jackson, so it's going to take longer for that debris to get higher. So that's the tricky thing about some of this stuff. You have to really be on guard, really careful here in these type of situations. But you see here northwest Italia there, you see 50 one way, we have 50 the other way now. That could be a 100-mile-an-hour type tornado on the ground doing damage there. in this vicinity might have produced that type of damage as they were near, as it crossed or near I-20. So not what you want to see, obviously, as this moves there toward the Mississippi River in just a few moments, as this warning also goes into what is Sequina and Warren counties in Mississippi. So gotta get people in shelter, interior room, away from windows, put a bicycle helmet on or a football helmet on, something like that, as we're dealing with this nasty situation. So again, just checking some things behind the scenes here right now. And again, I know we're getting some new updates that confirmed tornadoes on the ground there. East Carroll, Madison, and Sequina. They just dropped out Bolivar out of the statement, but our latest update, I think that might be the one, just the different storm to the north, not same one. They just canceled tornado warning for LaFleur and Sunflower, but again, we're just going to have to continue to watch. We're now at the top of the hour, which is midnight in the east, 11 in that central time zone, and you can see the greens and reds here. That is showing wind there. I mean, at the worst case scenario, this is showing winds at 110 miles an hour here. With a tornado has been reported on the ground, and we saw maybe debris off the UM radar a moment ago, which is lower, so it would take longer for this radar here, which is generally the better one to look at things, but it's higher up with the look, so it's going to take longer for that debris to be lofted into the viewpoint there. But again, just watching things as this goes into toward Mississippi. It crosses the Mississippi River here, and we got to get folks in shelter. Let's see what we're doing with. Looks like the community of Omega, or Omega, different pronunciations, different spots potentially, but around 11:05, and then it looks like, as I'm looking here, Eagle Bend around 11:15, Valley Park around 11:30, and now we're getting word of power flashes. And this is why it's so important to have spotter, because our one radar, this one here, is not showing debris, but we're getting reporting from Brenda Dare now, who's a very experienced spotter of power flashes blowing up west of 65 north of Talia there. Or Talia, depending on how you pronounce that. Again, we're live in coverage, so I can't tell you the pronunciations. I don't have anybody in my ear to tell me how to pronounce things, but we're watching things here right now for Sur South. It looks like it's some of these different communities, as we're looking there, Sondheimer, if I'm pronouncing that right, and you can see here we have some very tight rotation, maybe a tornado with winds in excess of 100 miles an hour, the wind that is, on the ground right now. Those winds could be in excess of 100 miles an hour, so got to get folks into shelter. Now, debris detection not really showing that quite right, but I don't think that really mattered based on the reporting we're getting and what we're seeing off the different radar views. So, again, we need to get folks into shelter. You can just see what we're dealing with right now. We're just having to really deal with this situation here, as we currently have 3 tornado warnings. So, a little bit of reduction, but things sometimes get cleaned up at the top of the hour here. So, let's go ahead and go back on over. You can see the bright red here north of I-20. That's some very strong rotation with that tornado warning. Then you have the tornado warning here north, southwest of Oxford. And then another tornado warning southwest of Alexandria. We can't forget about this one. If you're in Rapides, Paris, you got to really be paying attention. And in some cases, depending on where you are in the county, or Paris, I should say, you might need to be taking shelter right now. But if you're in Alexandria proper, you really need to be ready to take tornado precautions there. Don't go to bed yet. If you're in Alexandria, you need to be paying attention to this here in Rapides, Paris. So, again, a nasty situation toward Rapides, Paris there, potentially, as we're looking ahead in the timeline. But, again, we're watching this storm the most carefully here, the closest, because it's the one that really produced that debris earlier, and it's really setting up nasty again on our analyst in terms of the rotation off of Jackson. That is wind there, 54 one way, and maybe 63 the other way. So we're talking about winds closer to 115 miles an hour, and that's you have 2 type criteria that we're dealing with here, folks. Right here in this area, you see the rotation. Need to get folks in the shelter here. This could be a strong tornado at night, and those are the most dangerous, potentially the most deadly kind of tornadoes. So you need to be taking those tornado precautions. Interior room away from windows here in this area, as we're watching this national level threat here real close. Watching this national level threat again. They're not calling this PES at the moment, but I mean, you just never know. It's based on the reporting we're getting. It very well could be that type of situation with a stronger tornado there that could be on the ground. But The 6 sector inside a sturdy building there. Get as many walls between you and the outside as possible. And protect yourself from flying debris by putting on a bicycle helmet in this area. So that's what you need to do in all tornado warnings that get issued. Always worth reminding you of that as this moves into Ward, Mississippi here over the next few moments. Checking for debris on this move. We're not seeing it, but UM radar, it seemed like it was still showing that debris. I know it's going to kind of be hard to pick out 100% here. It's really getting hard to pick out because of the angle and whatnot, but definitely could still be, as we're getting a wording and from the spotter there, that could be a tornado on the ground in this area. So again, we're watching this carefully. We have 3 tornado warnings on the board. We have the one Roy tire rotation out here in toward this area as we cross from Louisiana to Mississippi. We're going to wait a few more moments and see if we have some new updates. If not, I may go ahead and start to wrap things up here on this update as we're now into Wednesday for our East Coast viewers. But we're watching things. If we have a tornado emergency, we'll do our best to get on. I know the things are so hit and miss here at times. We're really trying to pay attention. We haven't had any tornado emergencies with the catastrophic tag yet. There's a chance that we could have something like that later on Wednesday as we get out toward the east. Even Mobile under the threat. Hattiesburg under the threat. Got to pay attention because the threat could get even more substantial here as we look ahead in toward the timeline. So I just got to pay attention here for sure. Let me go ahead and see what we're doing with confirmed tornado warning. Still, as we're getting toward East Carroll, Madison, it's Queen and Warren here at this 11:06 Central Time hour on this Wednesday morning. So again, we're just continuing to watch things. I want to see our SBC information again while we're on live with you. Let me go ahead and say what's going on. So you see the hatched area here. You can see New Orleans, Jackson, your county is there, but really more focused down toward New Orleans and Hattiesburg. And I mean, even Meridian here, we'll have to be watching, but Mobile and areas there, Brewton, Alabama, and over toward Pensacola there in Florida. I mean, even Andalusia, as we kind of circle back into toward Alabama a little bit, watching the hatched area very carefully. And then as we get into toward Thursday, a squall line, maybe a lower tornado threat, but a higher risk possibly of some damage and winds here into toward Florida and Georgia after 7 a.m. This is when this is valid, and we have that potential here. So just be on guard and make sure you're having multiple ways to receive warnings here as we're watching things. As we get new warnings right now coming out for areas of Mississippi. So let's go ahead and see what we're dealing with. So it's going to be tornado warning for Humphreys and Sharkey counties in Mississippi until 12 a.m. Central Time, which is 1 a.m. Eastern Time. So Humphreys and Sharkey. So let's get it over there. You can see what we're doing with that rotation there near Rolling Fork. There, we're watching that. You can see that moving on in. We're watching it track on in. By the way, it looks like the warning toward Alexandria has been dropped for now, but don't let your guard down as we get toward Rapides Paris. And then as you get toward the north here, toward Oxford, we're watching things up there. Some rotation, but this rotation we're watching there, and this one looks really tight here, crossing the Mississippi River. I know it shows up a little weird sometimes, more than one maybe, but just going to really be paying attention here, obviously, over the next little bit as we get on in here and look at some more different radar tools. I know trying to give you the very latest information here to protect you, your friends, and your family from the national level, but also keeping you guys advised on that thread here on that local level. So let's go ahead and just see here, analyst computer, as we switch on over to that. See the lightning, a lot of lightning here, and you see that rotation from a few moments ago, and then you'll see the updates coming on in as this gets there right toward the Mississippi River. That area right there, you see our tornado vortex signature, that backwards triangle indicating that stronger rotation. We're not seeing debris that high up, though, off of Jackson to reach a considerable tag, though, thankfully, but we'll just have to keep our eyes on things. I know. Let's go ahead and see what we're dealing with in terms of that timing locally one last time for our North Florida and South Georgia viewers with the worst of the weather. Now, of course, we could have isolated acts in ahead, but with the squall line roll, we're talking about maybe closer to 5 a.m. for Tallahassee. Again, have the range here just to keep our eyes on that in the time frame. You just want to be paying attention. But really careful because things will shift some in this. As we all know, the weather is unpredictable. But Live Oak there 5 to 11 a.m. So maybe closer to 8 a.m. With the squall line on Thursday. Now it's just into Wednesday, so we're talking about a little over 24 hours away, and then between 7 a.m. and 1 p.m. on Thursday towards Stark and Bradford County. So that's what we're dealing with here with the time, and then the threat will be over from Flagler County and that zone there by 4 o'clock, it looks like, as we get that on out of here and out of the First Coast region. So still watching this here. At this point, I think we're going to wrap it up. I know we have NWS Tornado. Follow that account on Twitter for the latest. When we're not on, and we'll post things as we can here and stream as necessary as well. And that threat seems to maybe be pretty nasty as we get toward Mobile and New Orleans and areas around Hattiesburg as we look ahead on that Wednesday. Andalusia there, or Andalusia, depending on how you pronounce that locally. And then Pensacola and our Florida zone here, the Sunshine State, not our counties ourselves, but in the Sunshine State, maybe even a strong tornado toward that area. Escambia County, Florida, and Escambia County, Alabama, both under that risk. We gotta be on guard. Gotta have that with the radio on. Gotta have that cell phone there ready to go with those alerts coming on in to be getting it in bathroom or closet, because this stuff can change rapidly. And just getting new information. The circulation in the Mississippi River there, we're watching this passing this north of Eagle Lake. So gonna be watching all that here for you, but we're about an hour now. Looks like I look at my time. We're right at an hour pretty much or so since we started this stream. So we'll keep you updated, and if a tornado emergency, of course, that'll be something we really have to be on for. But otherwise, we'll go ahead and wrap it up for the time being. Please, please, please stay safe overnight here, especially out toward the west, because strong tornadoes at night, not a good combination. Not normally seeing this in December. Right now, getting an update that the debris may have been dislocated from the couplet, CC, but a very healthy wall cloud there at this point. So not 100% sure on exactly what's happening north of that community there of Talia there, according to Brenda there. But of course, we'll be watching things and dealing with them as they come and go. Here, it's been a long day for folks in the Weather Enterprise, and that's going to continue another long day here on Wednesday, and then a lot of Thursday as well, especially for our local area. We'll have to pay attention here as well. So stay safe out there. The tornado watch is in place. I'll put those on. We could have more of them toward the east here as we look through the night and then toward that Wednesday as well. I know they're talking about open fields there in that Louisiana area, so not sure. But tornado touched down, it might have actually not been that apparent and damage being caused. So it could have just been picking up things there in the fields and really not producing anything. But it's nice, so it's not get these reports in. And it's not 100% the tornado actually wasn't on the ground. It just maybe you can't see the damage yet until the daylight comes and reveals what happened. But a lot of tornadoes occurred there as we got toward North Texas. You see the wind directions kind of shift on us there, and we'll be watching all that moisture there come on in out ahead of this, and that higher dew point air mass coming in toward our area. And we're paying attention here for you as we track things Wednesday, Thursday. Here with the weather picture. We may not have a formal update Thursday. We'll play that by ear, but we're on top of things here for you in the Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Casey Cloud. Have a great night. Stay safe. Have multiple ways to get severe weather alerts.